Jevin Hodge is joining us. He's a nonprofit leader and entrepreneur in the state of Arizona, as well as Professor Rashad Shabazz is joining us. He is a professor at Arizona State University. We're talking about swing state voters because swing states are so important, and you can't talk about any voters without talking about African American voters. I'm actually going to be in the great state of Arizona on Monday, October 14th. It's Indigenous People Day. It seemed fitting to be in the state. I'm going to be doing some canvassing, door knocking, talking to some of these voters that we're talking about, and also hosting a live audience for a taping of my show, The Special Report. I'm on a 7-state battleground tour, going into all the battleground states, meeting with the local elected officials, community leaders, activists, and voters. We were told at the DNC by our forever First Lady, Michelle Obama, to do something. And that means really, really, really do something. Not wait around for someone to ask you, but do something. And we're asking everyone that's been following me and watching me, what are you doing? I've been asking that question. What are you doing? Maybe just calling a neighbor, maybe talking to a coworker. Some folks are going to get out and volunteer at campaign headquarters. They're going to organize phone banking. They're going to organize canvassing events. But if you can't do any of that, find something that you can do in your community to activate those that are close to you. Because what we do know about voters is voters sometimes get overwhelmed by all of the slick ads on television and the slick ads on social media, but they never get tired of talking to their friends and family members. And we are the most trusted messengers for those hard to reach voters. So never underestimate your own power in helping someone lift their voice and exercise their right to vote. All right, you want to check me out in Arizona or at any of the other battleground states where I'll be, go to my website, arevamartin.com, and register to join me in a battleground state. Professor Shabazz, reproductive justice, reproductive freedom, reproductive health are on the ballot across this country and also in a state like Arizona. Again, I go back to that community meeting where you were. What were folks saying about that issue as a driving force? Typically you think about Republican voters as being single issue voters. We know a lot of them are single issue around anti-abortion, which is why evangelics and others supported Donald Trump in his first bid to become president and continue to vote for him today because they wanted Roe v. Wade to be overturned. They want a national ban on abortion, but a lot of Black voters are becoming single issue in the sense that they want to see the right to choice and the right to abortion become the law of the land, and they see the pathway to that happening through Kamala Harris. So what about Arizona voters, both women and men, on this issue of reproductive freedom and body autonomy?
Yeah, that issue unfortunately wasn't taken up in the meeting that I was a part of last week, but nevertheless, it is a critical issue. We have the possibility to enshrine reproductive freedom here in the state of Arizona in our Constitution in perpetuity if voters will come out and support it, and that is something I'm absolutely in support of. But one of the things I would like for the audience to consider and to really be able to shape to help us to think about how things are operating here in Arizona is that unfortunately in the country, we have these sort of identity-based politics that we are not able to see the much more expansive, capacious implication of those policies. So for example, many white Americans think anti-racist politics have nothing to do with white people, right? Affirmative action is something that has been benefited white women for half a century, right? Many able-bodied people think that having policies that address access have nothing to do with them, when in fact it helps to shape the design and orientation of our streets and buildings. And unfortunately, many men think that reproductive freedom has nothing to do with them, when in fact reproductive freedom raises issues about privacy, about access to health care. And so, part of this means that men in this state and really around the country have to have a much more expansive, capacious understanding that despite this being something that is specifically impacting women in terms of their ability to get the kind of health care that they need and to have forms of bodily autonomy, the extent to which women can have that all over the nation means that everyone can have better privacy, better access to health care, and be able to receive the kind of care that they need. So what I want to advocate for here on your show is that reproductive freedom for women is a men's issue. Reproductive freedom for women is a men's issue, not just because you have a mother, not just because you have a sister, not just because you have a wife. I mean, that's kind of tired, and I want to move that out of the way. That's not a reason. Don't do this because your mother or your sister or your, whatever. Understand that the extent to which women have access to this healthcare has implications for everyone in the country, men included. So men should get on board, not because their wives or their girlfriends say so, but because understanding the impact that it will have for their privacy and access to healthcare moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's so well stated, Professor, to frame this issue as a privacy issue, because many people don't know that the same Supreme Court justices that came for our rights to control our body are also coming for marriages. This is a court that is hostile to gay marriages. It's a court that could be potentially hostile to even interracial marriages. It's a court that is very, very hostile to many of the rights that we enjoy today and has nothing to do with your gender. Jevin, what are you seeing again in Arizona around this issue of reproductive freedom? Is this going to be the issue that could perhaps put Kamala Harris over the top in battleground states like Arizona?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to what Professor Shabazz just said, retweet. I fully support everything that this gentleman just said, because it's exactly right. This issue is about each and every one of us, because the first clause of this, reproductive freedoms, freedom, the freedom to choose, the freedom to do, the freedom to be, the freedom to exist, the freedom to make the decisions that you so want and you so choose with your bodies. I want to get to the brass tacks really quickly. Their campaign is fueled by the worst of what our country represents. And when they talk about making America great again, that's where they want to go. They want to go back to the 50s. They want to go back to the early 1900s. They want to go back to the Jim Crow era. They want to go back to slavery, where Black people weren't considered humans and where women did not have the right to vote, where Latinos weren't even a part of the conversation because we didn't even consider them as people. Right. And that's what their campaign stands on when they talk about make America great again. So when they talk about immigration, all immigration is a ploy for them to be able to use that exact tactic. They're coming in and taking your jobs, they're raping your women, and they're bringing in the drugs, and they're doing all these things. No, these people represent the best of this country, bringing in innovation and creative energy and working hard every single day to achieve the American dream that we all so strive to create and achieve within ourselves. But because of this campaign and the principles in which they are built upon, they're built on a bedrock of hate. They're going to use this opportunity. So all it is nothing but rhetoric that is appealing. And it's appealing because when you lead with fear, fear is an easy motivator to use to get people to do something.